Hey yo, hey yo. Hello. Hop, 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 hop. What can I say? This is Christopher from Spiritual Advice from a Barbarian, Lunatic. And I just started to record myself again. And this is the first month. And now I have to do some kind of mental stuff. Amy, Fuß. Fuß, Fuß, Fuß. 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 Na, und weiter. Komm. See, so now I'm mentally jogging, recording myself, and at the same time talking, and at the same time holding the camera, and at the same time paying attention that that dog, which I've been granted the opportunity of walking, isn't kind of doing stuff that it's not supposed to do. And as I see it, that's just, in a way, also what you will have to do if you are ever attempting to be a family man, which I am doing, because that's the greatest challenge for any man, to have a beautiful wife and to make her stay with you, which means you also have to take care of her emotions in a way. And there is a ultra stabilizing feature in this camera, which I choose to disable because I want life to be a bit shaky. And if you don't like it, you can always go and fuck yourself, which is, as loving as I can tell you that this is my world and this is my show and this is what you're going to get when you choose to listen to me. And so here we are, and here I am, talking to you about things that you know nothing about. Here. Come. And this first series of the month January is called Noiseless Whisper, I believe. And that's roughly what I'm trying to bring to a closure, and we'll see how that's gonna be. Amy, hier. Hier. Fuß. 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 Und weiter. Los. See, some people really need a leash for their dogs because they don't trust their dogs. And when the dog is starting to pull on the leash and it's like their safety measure, because they feel, the dog is protecting them, which the dog indeed does do, because that's why they have a dog, because they feel a bit shit about themselves, and so the dog is somewhat keeping them safe, but more safe from themselves, and that's what they don't realize. People with small dogs, like a Chihuahua, is actually weiter, hier, hey, hier, weiter. So you don't let the dog lead the way, which if the dog is pulling on the leash, that's what the dog is doing, right? He's pulling, and no, you don't do that. No, you lead the way. And sometimes it's a bit difficult because the dog also wants to lead, but it's not the dog's place to lead, because the dog is not in a dog pack, it's in a human pack, and therefore humans must lead. And therefore, if you are ever attempting to be a man in a family, you have to take charge and you have to lead and you have to become more of a man and stand up for yourself and for others, so that your wife, who's like the beautiful feminine manifestation of Mother Nature, that she can trust you and feel right at home wherever you are, because where you are, her home is, because that's where she feels safe. And You know, it's like all kind of confusing. You know, it's like all diving into you. It's like the basical, you know, I'm just gonna use that word again, manifestation of madness. I'm not trying to make sense here, because life never makes sense. It's humans that try to make sense out of nonsense. And whenever you try to make sense, you know, anything you say with words to make sense, you know, by the law of duality, immediately creates nonsense. So anything that I say makes sense and nonsense at the same time. And that's why science makes sense in a way just as much as it makes nonsense. And yep, that's what you will have to face when you're trying to understand what is going on and what your purpose is. And therefore, you know, I'm trying to figure out how long these videos are going to be. You know, how much of my madness can you take before you're gonna say that's an overload? And to avoid that, I'm just, you know, I have this beautiful thing here, which isn't as charged as I would like it to be, but that's all right. You know, that's the thing with electronics. You know, they always lose their charge, and so do you. And just to connect whatever I've been saying until now, because I'm avoiding to make a point just to keep you a bit trapped, you know, into feeding you useless junk or very valuable information, depending on your standpoint and your ego, right? And your perception of what is and of what might be. You know, all I can say is that holding this stick is like really awkward, but that doesn't really matter, because the Noiseless Whisper, as I perceive it, is that voice in your heart that's trying to tell you what you want and that you've been ignoring. And as long as you do that, you know, nothing's ever going to change for you. So you have to start listening to the voice of your heart, which is in a way a noiseless whisper. And sometimes I really feel like I'm about to go mad when I'm listening to these voices and I'm trying to figure out which is the one that I should follow. Right? Is it the one that tells me to drink coffee, or is it the one that tells me don't drink it, it's gonna ruin you? Well, then I drink it anyway, and suddenly, like, boom, right, I'm right on track again. And I just needed that coffee to just like, woohoo, propel me into bliss, which is what we're all trying to do with one way or another. I just try to do it with stronger substances than most people. You know, some people, they just eat sugar, where I say, well, sugar is somewhat weak, so once in a while I need something stronger. You know, alcohol is somewhat weak, so sometimes I just need something stronger. You know, not gonna say much more than we are in the middle of the mushroom season. And if you're interested, you know, listen on my podcast to the serious godly substances. It might tell you one thing or another, or just keep following my podcast, which is going to talk a bit about HP and what it is, you know, and what's to learn there. Also, if you want to find out more about me and my work, check out my website christopher-reusch.com and see what there lies for you. Right, if you want to put in the work, because, you know, I'm just a person talking about emotions that may help you understand Fuß, Amy, here, Fuß, and these emotions may help you to understand what your heart is trying to tell you. And that's basically all there is to say. The rest will come later. Cheers.